Number 10. Austin Mahone. Once considered the next big thing in the 2010s, Austin Mahone was set to follow in Justin Bieber's footsteps and become a teen idol himself. But after years of hype, his music career never really took off. The singer started out by posting various covers of pop songs on YouTube in 2010, including Justin Bieber's Mistletoe, which catapulted his rise to fame. But right away, Austin made it clear that he did not appreciate the comparison, saying, "They see a young kid who sings and dances, they're like, oh, another Justin Bieber. Like, you don't even know, you don't know me, you don't know my music, you're just making assumptions." But fast forward to 2022 and Austin Mahone is nowhere to be seen in the music industry. So what gives? Well, in short, he had a falling out with his label due to poor sales of his album and had to restart his career somewhere else as an independent musician, which didn't really work out well either. In 2020, Austin made a questionable career move when he made an OnlyFans and reportedly auctioned a 10-minute video of him during alone time, which sold for $9,000. Hey, you never know, maybe he got desperate. But all in all, it's likely that the world just didn't feel like they needed another Justin Bieber. Number 9. Macklemore. When he stepped into the music scene 10 years ago, he was seen as unstoppable. Alongside his longtime producing partner Ryan Lewis, Macklemore captured the entire world's attention with his debut studio album The Heist. With record-breaking hits like Thrift Shop, Same Love, and Can't Hold Us, he firmly established himself as a socially conscious rapper and achieved big-time stardom. But in recent years, the hype around him has really fizzled out. This is in part due to Ryan Lewis's departure, because he was a critical part of Macklemore's early success. In 2017, the duo announced that they were splitting up and needed creative space from each other. Although there were no hard feelings, it's pretty obvious that Ryan's exit really impacted the quality of Macklemore's work, and there was definitely a shift in how his music was perceived by the public. But there were also some enormous changes that took place in Macklemore's personal life, because he's now a father of 3. Not only that, but he's more focused now on his charity work and community activism. So while many people seem to think that he's fallen off the face of the earth entirely, he's actually just turning his focus onto other endeavors. Number 8. Mischa Barton. In the early 2000s, she was one of the hottest stars on the Hollywood scene. Thanks to the success of the Fox teen drama The OC, the young actress was instantly thrust into the spotlight when she was just 17 years old. But after leaving the hit show in 2006, Mischa became a tabloid target and struggled to recapture her previous level of acting success. It really all happened after she was involved in several unfortunate incidents in 2007, including a hospitalization and a DUI arrest. Over the next few years, the paparazzi continued to hound her as she gained unwanted attention for things like a trip to the psych ward, a failed TV comeback, and even her fluctuating weight. She really tried to turn it around in 2019 by joining the cast of The Hills, New Beginnings, with most of the cast from the original reality series, including Heidi Montag, Spencer Pratt, Brody Jenner, and Audrina Patridge. But unfortunately, Mischa was not invited back for season 2 because, according to Brody, the actress didn't fit in with the rest of the cast. He said, "Bringing Mischa on to begin with was sort of awkward. It's a little bit upsetting because she has been planning a career comeback for more than a decade now, but she just hasn't been able to crack it." Number 7. Zooey Deschanel. Best known for 500 Days of Summer as well as the hit Fox series New Girl, Zooey was a huge star during the high points of her career. But after New Girl came to an end in 2018, her acting career has slowed down considerably. In fact, she's been largely absent from our screens over the past couple of years and doesn't seem to have any major roles lined up. So what happened? Well, as we know, from 2011 to 2018, Zooey played Jess, a sweet, quirky teacher who moves in with 3 strangers in Los Angeles after a terrible breakup. And although the role landed her an Emmy and Golden Globe nominations, it also pigeonholed her as a performer and made her harder to cast in roles that differed too drastically from Jess. So between New Girl and 500 Days of Summer, the fact is that many of Zooey's characters fit the definition of the manic pixie dream girl, which is a term describing those quirky female characters with a Disney princess mindset who only exist to give the male lead a new lease on life. So when people started criticizing that character trope in Hollywood, Zooey received a lot of backlash for almost exclusively taking those roles. And now that it's not as popular as it used to be, studio heads are way more hesitant to cast her. Number 6. Mike Myers. His name is synonymous with the hilarious and charismatic character Austin Powers. However, the actor is reportedly very difficult to work with in real life, which meant that he eventually found it quite difficult to keep starring in major films. There have been numerous reports suggesting that Myers is a nightmare on set, with some even claiming him to be a control freak and just outright grumpy. It has come to light that the actor makes tons of demands of his assistants. In fact, Myers reportedly made life a daily nightmare for the cast and crew of one of his biggest films. According to Amy Hill, who was his co-star in The Cat in the Hat, she said it was a horrible, nightmarish experience. Hill claimed that he selfishly kept everyone waiting for hours, overruled the director, and even had someone standing by just holding his personal chocolates in a dish. Quote, "It was so weird, it was just the worst, I was miserable." Another story involves a fan that offered to buy the actor a drink. After telling Myers how much he enjoyed his work, Myers allegedly just looked at him and said, "I can afford my own drinks," cursed at him and said, "Save your money for my next movie." Apart from being notoriously difficult to work with, his mean-spirited attitude towards regular people have shrunk his fan base down to a fraction of what it used to be. Number 5. Jamie Lynn Spears. People have started referring to Jamie Lynn as the Britney Spears from Wish, and it's easy to see why. They've labeled her as a knockoff to her pop star sister. Jamie Lynn started her career in film and television as a child, mostly playing the younger version of Britney's characters. But she didn't receive star status until landing the lead role as Zoe Brooks on the Nickelodeon show Zoe 101. And even when she was cast by its creator Dan Schneider, it was all because she looked a lot like her older sister. The boarding school set dramedy was a smash hit and cemented a young Jamie Lynn's acting career. But little did fans know there was actually a scandal brewing behind the set, as its star was just 16 when she fell pregnant, which would have been a bombshell for the very PG show. In her memoir, Things I Should Have Said, Jamie Lynn says her family and management pulled her out of school until they could figure out what to do next. And after the 4th season of Zoe 101, the network cancelled the series. Since then, her acting career has been on hiatus, and although she briefly tried to break through as a country star, Jamie Lynn has not been successful at rehabilitating her career since. Number 4. Tara Reid. There's no doubt that the American Pie star was one of Hollywood's it girls in the late 90s and early 2000s. She was gorgeous and totally fit the funny, pretty girl archetype in movies. Tara achieved real fame by playing Vicky in the hugely popular American Pie series, and she was also in Cruel Intentions, Van Wilder, and Scrubs. However, at the time of her blow-up in Hollywood, she was seen partying more and more and became less credible. Eventually, the publicity of her clubbing lifestyle led to her show on E! Called Taradise, which ended up flopping and just made things a whole lot worse for her image. From that point on, Tara would unfortunately be in and out of rehab and had trouble maintaining sobriety. The actress was also going through various issues stemming from botched plastic surgery, claiming in 2004 that breast implants and liposuction surgeries left her with disfigurements that damaged her career. She told Us Weekly, "My stomach became the most ripply, bulgy thing. I had a hernia, this huge bump next to my belly button. As a result, I couldn't wear a bikini. I lost a lot of work." She did, however, manage to nab a role in the comedy disaster film franchise Sharknado, but unfortunately, that reoccurring role wasn't enough to reboot her career. Number 3. Katherine Heigl. Television medical drama Grey's Anatomy catapulted Katherine Heigl into the limelight. The thing is, she had a reputation of being extremely unpleasant to work with on set, and after trashing her most popular movie ever, she lost a whole bunch of fans. I'm talking about 2007's Knocked Up. It was not just hilarious but very well received all round, scoring an 89% on Rotten Tomatoes and bringing in $219 million at the box office against a $25 million budget. But Katherine was less than thrilled about her participation in the movie and called the film sexist, telling Vanity Fair in 2008 that she thought the movie paints women as shrews, as humorless and uptight, and it paints the men as lovable, goofy, fun-loving guys. She went on to say that she had a hard time with the film on some days because she said that her character was a B-word and a killjoy. Not only that, but Heigl's bad reputation stems largely from her decision to decline a second Emmy nomination for Grey's Anatomy in 2008. She released a wince-inducing public statement that claims she simply wasn't given the material this season to warrant an Emmy nomination. Talk about biting the hand that feeds you. Number 2. Azealia Banks. With tongue-twisting lyricism, Azalea's debut single 212 is definitely one for the books. Pitchfork called it the 6th best song of the 2010s, and Billboard said said it defined a decade. In fact, Rolling Stone placed it on the list of the 500 greatest songs ever made. The track was supposed to set her up for world domination. But these days, it's hard to think of any artist that has been marred in such controversy as Azalea. Her social media presence has created scandal after scandal, and the list of people she has feuded with is so extensive that it has its own section on Wikipedia. Her celebrity beef is super random and impossible to keep track of. For instance, she went on a huge rant on her Instagram story last year, insulting Doja Cat's looks and her music, saying, "Doja makes music for 10-year-olds and is very derivative. Cute girl, but her attempts at witty East Coast Roman reloaded flows are pitiful and not in the least amusing. And yes, she looked terrible before she lost weight." And in 2018, she accused Elon Musk of investment fraud and called him a beta male who took steroids and got hair plugs to convince himself that he was an alpha. She still occasionally makes attempts to collaborate with other artists, but at this stage it would be difficult to find anyone that would still work with her. And coming in at number 1, Hayden Christensen. He was just 19 years old when he was cast as Anakin Skywalker, the man who would evolve into Darth Vader in the Star Wars prequel trilogy. It was set to be the role of a lifetime, and somehow, despite having limited leading man experience, Hayden was handpicked for the role out of a pool of more than 1,500 candidates. But unfortunately for the young actor, the prequels garnered overwhelmingly negative reviews from critics and fans alike. In reviews, his performance was referred to as unpolished, timid, and stiff, and many people just called him a straight-up bad actor. So instead of setting Hayden on a path for more high-profile film roles, the backlash that the prequels received led the Canadian actor to fade into obscurity. But it was also a choice that he made for himself at the time, telling the Los Angeles Times, "I guess I felt like I had this great thing in Star Wars that provided all these opportunities and gave me a career, but it all kind of felt a little too handed to me. I didn't want to go through life feeling like I was just riding a wave." Which is actually quite sad when you think about it, but he does seem content now with less prominent roles and actually seems to prefer life outside of the spotlight.
In at number 10, Noah Cyrus. Noah is the younger sister of massive star Miley Cyrus, as well as the daughter of Billy Ray Cyrus. And of course, growing up in someone's shadow is never easy, and my heart goes out to her for that. But after years of trying to branch out into a successful solo career apart from her sister, it hasn't really been successful. And it might be time for her to realize that not many people know her apart from being Miley's younger sister. She talked about growing up in Miley's shadow in one interview, saying, quote, "Being born in the family I was in, everybody gave me such a hard time for having a hard time being Miley's little sister. But I always felt like I was the person that no one gave a about due to what people said about me online." And I know it can be really hard to be your own person when you have an ultra famous sibling. However, getting into music where Miley and her father had already been successful was probably not a great idea if she wanted to become recognizable in her own right. And at number 9, Jonathan Cheban. Jonathan Cheban is a publicist by trade, but is known for being a socialite and influencer who is BFF with the Kardashians. He makes regular appearances on the show and is a notable character at this point in the series. But other than being famous by association, he was never really famous for anything on his own merit. He recently decided to become food god and made his Instagram an eating blog, but he's had moderate success. But honestly, I will say that I do like him on the show, and he does add a bit of spice to the show, you know, every now and then when it needs it, especially in the Miami days. He was like the best when they were in Miami. I'll say that about him. And at number 8, Jessie J. Jessie J was huge in the 2010s, and her powerhouse vocals and songwriting abilities made her really successful in that time. She even collabed with Ariana Grande and Nicki Minaj on the hit song Bang Bang. But over the years, each of her albums have gone on to sell less and less, and she's become less relevant in the industry. The only time that I really heard any news about her was when she started dating Channing Tatum. But since they decided to split in 2020, I really haven't heard much news about her since. And I don't think that she'll be making a comeback anytime soon.
Coming in at number 7, J.K. Rowling. This one might be a little controversial because it's J.K., and as the queen of Harry Potter, she may not completely lose her fame, but she's definitely on her way to losing credibility. Recently, she's come under fire for allegedly being transphobic and speaking out about her transphobic views. The criticisms she's been receiving lately have been coming from all sides, between the Harry Potter cast and general fans. The comments that J.K. has been making about trans issues have seen people coming back to bite her. So many people are losing respect for the famous author author that some fans are even getting their Harry Potter tattoos removed because they no longer support her. A large portion of the fan base identifies with the character of Harry Potter because of how his story shows the growth of finding acceptance in a community that supports them, much like the LGBT community. Since JK is now coming out with her take on trans issues, this is turning out to be her downfall, as a large portion of the fandom has now lost faith and are pulling their support. JK might not be famous for too much longer at this rate.
And at number 6, Tekashi 69. Tekashi 69 became a huge star overnight and leveraged his unique and frequently mocked look with bright hair and face tattoos to become a big name in rap. He also had commercial success too, with 3 of his singles hitting the Billboard Hot 100, and his music videos get ridiculous views. However, many have accused him of buying bots to get those views. But his fall has been just as fast as his rise, and after he was sent to prison for snitching, as well as being accused of sexual crimes, even his fans are a bit tired of him, and he seems to be fading into irrelevancy very fast.
Halfway number 5, Ray J. I don't know about you guys, but when I hear the name Ray J, the only thing I think of is Kim Kardashian. And I feel like a lot of people think the same way. And I think it's safe to say the only reason Ray J is relevant in the slightest is because of their tape. And after the tape, Kim K and her family have gone on to become some of the most famous people in the world, while Ray J went into obscurity. Ray J was in the Sharknado franchise, which isn't all that impressive, and his music was somewhat successful. And it seems the only way he gets back into the headlines is by bringing up Kim's name. And the last time he had any sort of relevancy, he was on Celebrity Big Brother talking about how Kim cheated on him. So I don't know, I think he maybe just needs to get out of the spotlight for his own good.
And at number 4, Paris Hilton. So this one might be a bit controversial, but if it wasn't for her recent documentary that brought her back into mainstream attention, it would be hard to argue that she still has the pull that she once had. Paris is obviously an icon that started the influencer lifestyle back when she was starring in hit reality TV shows. So don't take this as me disrespecting her career. But as the years went on and regular people were becoming more sought after influencers than her, she changed directions, focusing more on business endeavors and DJing. When her documentary was released on YouTube in 2020, it got tons of attention as people were dying to see what she had hidden behind the curtains. But since the hype of the documentary has died down, so has the attention surrounding her, which is evident from the fact that her YouTube channel only has 1 million subscribers.
At number 3, Tana Mongeau. YouTuber Tana Mongeau is somehow always involved in some sort of scandal. Most recently, we've seen Tana face backlash for her alleged treatment of fellow YouTubers Kaylin Berry and Nessa Briella, as well as her racist past. Much like Shane, she's been faced with similar scandals in the past, and she's lost some of her following because of it. Now again, following the Black Lives Matter movement, and really just the societal shift and focus on discrimination, people are really vigilant of the action and treatment of others. So do I think that we could see Tana's fame fade? Yes, but also no. She's so big on the platform that it would probably take more serious cancellations for her to really feel its effects, because right now, following her last controversy, she seems pretty unbothered by it. But if she continues to get such bold criticism, she could end up losing much of her fan base and fade away.
And at number 2, Rita Ora. Honestly, I'm still not sure why Rita Ora was ever considered famous in the first place, but other than the fact that she paid a restaurant to have a COVID party recently, she's pretty irrelevant in the media and the music business. She was a success in the Europe/UK market many years ago, but it didn't really translate over to the US market. Her success at one point was so lukewarm that she was actually dropped by her label too. Ora refuses to bow out and is trying really hard to keep her career afloat, but other than having famous friends, she really doesn't have much on her resume. And finally, at number 1, the Olsen twins. The world best knows the Olsen twins from their child stardom days, and with the rise of their talented sister, Elizabeth Olsen, it's become clearer than ever that the Olsen twins are really not famous anymore. But the best part is, they don't really care, and considering the fact that the two have never had social media accounts and haven't dabbled in the entertainment industry since their child stardom, they have left the door wide open for their sister Elizabeth to come into the spotlight. I think if anything, the media needs to realize the Olsen twins aren't famous anymore, so that Elizabeth doesn't have to answer any more questions about being related to them.
At number 10, Armie Hammer. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with the Armie Hammer scandal by now. This actor had to be included on this list because it was the first big scandal that really blew up this year year, and it really destroyed the actor's career. Back in January, some of Army's private messages with other women came to light, depicting the actor in a not so flattering way. The messages, leaked by the Instagram page House of Effie, exposed the actor for his bedroom fantasies, among other adult things, and this created a snowball effect that led to people coming forward with their own allegations of misconduct against the actor. Things took a very serious turn, and soon an investigation was launched to look into some of the claims made by some of Army's alleged victims. Because of the scandal and its severity, this took a huge toll on Army and his career, and he lost a lot as a result. We know that no one is quick to forget a scandal like this in Hollywood, and so as a result of this huge scandal and the allegations against him, Army started losing everything he worked for, including movie roles and representation in the industry. No one knows what the next step is for him, but one thing's for sure, he won't be famous next year. At number 9, Marilyn Manson. Another really huge scandal that happened this year that absolutely obliterated someone's career came from singer Marilyn Manson. This scandal shocked a lot of people because of how serious it was and how many people it affected. It all started when Marilyn's ex-partner, actress Evan Rachel Wood, came forward in an Instagram post to name Manson as someone who had harmed her for a long time. In her statement, Evan cited how manipulative Marilyn was, accusing him of brainwashing her, and told her fans about how Manson caused her so much mental, physical, and emotional pain. This caused more people to come forward later on, including Game of Thrones actress Esme Bianco, who came forward with some of the horrible encounters that she had with Manson as well. Following this scandal, Manson was dropped by his music label, and the LA County Sheriff's Department began an investigation looking into some of the allegations against the singer. It was alleged that his label covered up a lot of what Manson had been doing to other people, and that only made him look worse. Since this scandal broke, Manson has hit rock bottom in his career and social status because of how alarming this scandal was. So I don't think that the singer is going to be famous for the next little while. Before we carry on talking about the celebrities going into next year with a little less fame, why not take a brief moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and also while you're at it, consider subscribing to the channel to see more videos like this one. At number 8, Chris Harrison. With every season of The Bachelor or Bachelorette, there's at least one scandal. But earlier this year, things were a little different because a pretty serious scandal broke and it led to someone losing their job. The show's longtime host Chris Harrison landed himself into some hot water this year after he started facing backlash for the comments he made about one of the contestants' past. At the beginning of The Bachelor season earlier this year, photos of one of the Bachelor contestants was leaked showing her in a few compromising situations, specifically of her attending an antebellum themed party, and many fans saw this as highly offensive and racist. When the scandal first broke, a conversation was obviously sparked, but when asked about his take on the situation, Chris ended up offending some people as he responded saying that it was in the past. In an interview on Extra with former Bachelor/Bachelorette contestant Rachel Lindsay, when asked about this contestant's controversial photos, Chris was seemingly dismissive of her actions of her being at this party, and he continued to try and defend his stance, saying that he didn't want to make any comments before the contestant in question had spoken out first. Instead of helping the situation, fans of the show saw this as perpetuating racism, and so he was cancelled. As a result of this drama, Chris was let go from the show and hasn't really been seen much in the media since, prompting some to believe that he won't be famous anymore. At number 7, Chrissy Teigen. For Chrissy Teigen, the internet has not been the greatest place to be, for her at least, after she got cancelled for bullying Courtney Stodden when they were younger. Chrissy had some old tweets and DMs leaked which showed some very offensive messages to Courtney from back when they were still a teenager. Courtney rose to fame after they married Doug Hutchison when they were still very young, and this sparked international attention and also seemingly saw Chrissy turn into a very mean person as she allegedly sent a number of hateful messages to Courtney. Courtney spoke out about how they received such hateful messages from Chrissy, where they said that the hateful messages and harassment they received from her back then came during a very hard time in their life and really didn't help them navigate the pain they were feeling at the time. Chrissy has since apologized to Courtney for her actions, but after seeing many of the messages and tweets, a lot of fans aren't quick to forget what Chrissy has done. Chrissy has even started losing work because of this, because it exposed the hateful side of her, so maybe she might lose some fame next year as part of the lingering effects of this scandal. At number 6, DaBaby. Rapper DaBaby was yet another celebrity to be cancelled this year, and it was not pretty. The rapper's controversy came after he said some pretty offensive things while on stage performing at Rolling Loud in Miami. While on stage, the rapper made a series of offensive comments about the gay community, as well as perpetuating some of the stereotypes around HIV and AIDS. While on stage, the rapper made some comments about the illness, calling it a quote, deadly sexually transmitted disease that'll make you die in 2-3 weeks, end quote. He also went on to say some more homophobic things about gay men that also added fuel to the fire. Many people clapped back at the rapper like celebrities including Dua Lipa and Elton John, who condemned the rapper's comments and tried to educate the public on the misinformation that DaBaby spread, how it was wrong, and tried to educate the public specifically on HIV and AIDS to put the stigma spread by DaBaby's comments to rest. Because of this scandal, the rapper got into a lot of trouble with fans and was knocked down a pedestal or two, so maybe in the new year, we might see the rapper try to grasp onto what's left of his fame after this scandal. At number 5, James Corden. This year, the people turned on James Corden. James was trending a lot on Twitter this year, and not for the best reasons either. The amount of times I saw James Corden trending for people just talking about how much they hate him says a lot about what people in Hollywood think of him. The actor and late night host got into a few scandals this year, so following all of that, 2022 is probably going to be a rough year for James and his career. So far this year, James has faced backlash for his Spill Your Guts or Fill Your Guts segment because he was exposed for using traditional Asian foods as part of the gross foods for the bit, and on top of that, he faced a lot of scrutiny for his Golden Globes nomination for his role in the movie Prom, where he played a gay character because people thought that he used too many gay stereotypes in his portrayal of the role. Furthermore, a number of people who've worked with him or have had encounters with the host have also made a lot of negative comments about him, making him look like a pretty bad guy. To make matters worse for James and his career, some fans have literally started making petitions to keep James out of certain big Hollywood productions. People are really starting to dislike James, so like I said, 2022 might be a struggle for the late night host. At number 4, Gina Carano. Let's talk about another celebrity who faced a lot of backlash this year. Actress Gina Carano, known for her role on the Disney Plus series The Mandalorian, was exposed and cancelled for her old Twitter posts. Earlier this year, Gina began to face massive backlash for her social media posts that exposed her ideals and opinions that many people took offense to. Though there were a few posts that garnered a lot of negative attention, such as her comments on putting your pronouns in your social media bio, the one that seemingly was the last straw for her career was a post that compared being a Republican to being a victim of the horrors of World War II, saying that Republicans are being persecuted because of their political beliefs. A lot of people took offense to this and led to more backlash and to her getting exposed for her unpopular opinions. Other posts that caused Gina to face scrutiny include her tweets about voter fraud in the US, as well as posts mocking people who wear masks amidst the pandemic. Because of this scandal and all of the negative press Gina was getting, she was promptly fired from The Mandalorian and hasn't really been seen much since. Because of the nature of this scandal and the offensive things that were said, Gina might struggle to keep her fame in the coming year, because as we all know by now, Hollywood does not forget. At number 3, Jamie Lynn Spears. Another person who might not be famous in the new year is none other than Britney Spears' sister, Jamie Lynn Spears. Jamie Lynn got caught up in the scandal that was her sister's conservator case, and it didn't end well for her. There was a lot of family drama involved, as you can imagine, but instead of laying low and riding out the storm, so to speak, she jumped into the spotlight, and doing that attracted a lot of hate towards her. Many of Britney's fans criticized Jamie Lynn for not standing up for her sister and watching her suffer through the conservatorship for so long. Things took such a nasty turn for Jamie that it damaged her relationship with Britney and has caused her to attract a lot of hate and scrutiny. Because this Britney drama is still pretty fresh in people's minds, Jamie Lynn might not be too famous in the coming year, and she might still be cancelled by a lot of her sister's fans. At number 2, Jessie Nelson. On October 8th of this year, former Little Mix member Jessie Nelson released her music video for her song Boys featuring Nicki Minaj. After the video dropped, the singer was promptly cancelled and backlash ensued as viewers immediately started commenting on Jessie's appearance in the video and speculating on whether or not Jessie was deliberately trying to portray herself as a black woman for the content, and people started calling her out for blackfishing. In the Boys video, fans pointed out that Jessie was using a lot of black-centric aesthetics in the video, most notably a darker tan. But with this blackfishing controversy came more drama as people started looking into Jessie's past with Little Mix. Soon drama started to unfold with the group as one of the girl group's members came forward to say that she had actually warned Jessie about blackfishing and how it's wrong, but Jessie still did it anyway, and even went so far as to claim that no one had ever commented on it until this video came out. Things got messy and some fans started second guessing their support for Jessie, so maybe in the new year we won't see much from the former girl group member. And finally, at number 1, Travis Scott. Travis faced a lot of backlash in the last few weeks after the tragedy that occurred at his Astroworld concert. The rapper's performance ended in tragedy as the chaos that ensued during the concert left multiple people dead and hundreds injured. 10 people lost their lives due to the events that unfolded, and many others are still recovering from their injuries, as well as the families of those affected still trying to cope with everything that happened with their loved ones. There was a lot of footage circling the internet showing what happened that night and the madness that occurred during the performance, with people showing the crowds of people and even some fans yelling "stop the show." After the incident, we found out that the Houston police chief actually warned Travis about crowd control prior to the event, expressing his concerns for public safety. After people found this out, Travis started facing even more backlash as fans said that if the rapper really listened to this warning, these casualties could have been avoided. Travis has spoken out several times on the matter, but each time he makes a statement, it seems to make the whole situation worse for him, which certainly isn't helping his career or his fame. Because of the severity of this scandal, Travis might not be very famous in 2022.
In at number 10, Bow Wow. Bow Wow made a name for himself back when he was much younger and referred to himself as Lil Bow Wow. But now that he's older and losing relevancy fast, he's resorted to lying to look cool. And he's definitely posted some social media mistakes over the years. One was when he edited a photo of the original Death Row Records lineup from 1996 and included his face in it, which people called out for being photoshopped. Then he tried to brag about the fact that he was on a private jet, but his followers called that out for being fake too. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of people calling him out for fake stuff. And since his last acting and music successes were well over a decade ago, he's scraping the barrel to see what people will still watch. But it seems that Bow Wow is well aware of his sliding success, and even tweeted and then deleted, quote, "I'ma quit all this and downsize my home, sell everything, and go to work at GameStop," back in 2018. Since then, it looks like he's taken to YouTube and is having pretty decent success, so I guess we'll see if it sticks. In at number 9, Nicole Scherzinger. Nicole Scherzinger was the breakout star from the girl group, the Pussycat Dolls. And we found out later that she was the star because she was the only one in the group that actually sang anything. Yeah, like that's true. I didn't realize that. Like if you look in the credits, like it's literally her doing the main and the background vocals. Crazy. But after the group fell apart, she did her best to go solo, but her solo albums were not as successful as she'd hoped. After a lull in the biz, she became a judge on the X Factor UK, but allegedly she was fired in 2017. But she did have success as Grisabella in Cats on Broadway, but was disappointed when she wasn't considered for the movie remake. Although now I'm sure she was glad she wasn't included in that, disaster. Now she holds a guest spot on the Sidemen's YouTube original series, The Sidemen Show. And she appeared in a David Dobrik vlog, which is, quite a step down from where she once was. Of course, being in a David Dobrik vlog is iconic and amazing, but little lower than what she was before. In at number 8, Cody Simpson. I'm not gonna lie to you guys, the last time I cared at all about Cody Simpson was right after I learned that he was dating Miley Cyrus. But when they broke up, I went right back into not caring. In 2010, Cody was on fire and he was basically the Walmart Justin Bieber, but still very, very successful. But after he abruptly left his record label, he started touring with an old school rock band, enrolled at UCLA Film School, and started modeling too. But at about this time, he started to go into relative obscurity, and everyone just kind of started to forget about him. That is until Miley Cyrus rebounded with Cody and made him relevant again for the about a year or so that they were dating. Since 2019, he's released tons of music, so maybe his comeback will be happening any day now.
In at number 7, Allie and AJ. If any of you guys are around my age, then you definitely know who Allie and AJ are. I personally grew up with them on the Disney Channel, and I still know the words to some of their hit songs. The sisters actually had the most successful music career of any Disney star, and most impressively, they actually wrote all their own music too. Their biggest hit, Potential Breakup Song, was so huge that most of you probably know it. But sadly, after that massive hit, they decided to leave the Disney machine and was never able to reach the heights of their past success again. The girls struggled so much at one point, they rebranded themselves as 78 Violet. But they decided to come back recently as Allie and AJ again, and even released a Potential Breakup Song explicit version to try and recapture some of their old fan base. The girls are honestly making phenomenal music, and I wish them all the success in the world, but sadly, they just aren't that famous anymore.
And at number 6, Kevin Jonas. Any member of the Jonas Brothers will always be a big deal, especially for girls like me that grew up with them. But for Kevin, it's sad to say he was kind of the odd one out in terms of the group. Kevin was the first of his brothers to get married, have kids, and settle down out of the spotlight, with rumors circulating that he was the one that pushed for the band to split up in 2013. But right after the split, him and his new wife Danielle decided to try the reality TV route, and they started a show, Married to Jonas, which only lasted 2 seasons. After his failed stint on his own, his family moved back to suburbia, and he started a contracting business in New Jersey. But with a name like Jonas, you can never be out of the spotlight for too long. so him and his wife still appear at charity events and pose for promotional materials. However, the band came back in 2018, and although they had tons of excitement in the beginning, it seems to have worn off, and all the brothers are just settling down now. And honestly, at this point, I don't even think Kevin really wants fame anymore, so I mean, good for him for getting out of that then.
Halfway through at number 5, Joe Exotic. Netflix's Tiger King documentary came out just as quarantine started, so naturally, as everyone was bored in the house and in-house bored, people gravitated to this new edition and it became a hit very quickly. Joe Exotic rose to fame and he and his personality became something of a meme. But like most fads do, it started to fade. Sure, we've seen Joe's name pop up in the news here and there, but it's really just him trying to stay relevant while behind bars. As 2021 rolls around, people are going to completely forget about Joe Exotic and move on to the next fad as it comes around. He was funny and popular at the beginning because his character was so unusual, but when people really got to thinking about the wrong he's done, people really just started to hate him, and now he's no longer trending.
In at number 4, Heidi Montag. Spencer Pratt and Heidi Montag got their stardom from The Hills, and even though they dished out their dirty laundry for a paycheck, they don't regret it. The couple then went through tons of ventures to make some money off their name and fame, like writing a book and being in any reality TV show possible. Even though the couple admitted they squandered their money as fast as they get it. In 2018, MTV rebooted The Hills, and the couple felt like this was gonna be their ultimate comeback. But like with most reboots, the hype quickly faded and the show was a flop.
And at number 3, Tory Lanez. Tory Lanez rose to mainstream attention because of his hit song Saved in 2015. And he became a household name after, but only had a number of hits since. And it seems that the only reason he's come back into the spotlight is because of the unfortunate incident that took place between him and Megan Thee Stallion in 2020, which we still don't know the full story about. And to me, it seems that unless Tory is found innocent, he's gonna fall back into obscurity as well as getting some jail time.
And at number 2, Brenda Song. I will never not see Brenda Song as London Tipton because that show was just too big of a part of my life for me to ever think of any of the characters as anything different. And of course, being in any Disney project like that is gonna catapult you to fame, which is exactly what it did for Brenda. But after the show ended, the acting roles didn't really come as often for her, and the only notable role she was in was a small part in The Social Network, which, fun fact, is one of my favorite movies of all time. She also is known for dating some interesting men, going from Miley Cyrus's brother Trace to Macaulay Culkin. And even though Culkin is a massive star that will always be a notable Hollywood name, especially around Christmas, it really hasn't helped bolster her fame much. And finally at number 1, Rita Ora. Rita Ora was once named the most irrelevant pop star of all time. Well, in one article she was. She's kind of a funny person in the sense that she's famous and the Daily Mail writes about her all the time, but no one really knows why she's famous. A lot of people think she was a pop star, but she really wasn't, and she hasn't even released all that much music. And how she landed her spot on the X Factor, no one will really ever know. And she also manages to get invited to very high-class events, like award shows and even the Met Gala. The most notable thing she's done outside of her lackluster music is acting in the 50 Shades franchise and appearing on America's Next Top Model. I guess only time will tell where her career takes her next.
At number 10, Piers Morgan. Piers Morgan had a lot to say about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's interview with Oprah that became one of the biggest bombshells of this year. During the interview, secrets were revealed, confessions were given, and a lot of people had a lot to discuss. One of the things that was picked apart a lot by people were Meghan Markle's comments on her mental health before they split from the royal family. Meghan said that she was really depressed and had thoughts of taking her own life. Piers Morgan decided to pick apart her comments on her mental health and said that in his opinion he, quote, didn't believe a word that Meghan said, end quote. He criticized Meghan's mental health and a lot of people saw that as going too far. As a result, Piers and the network he worked for faced mass scrutiny for saying such a thing about someone's mental health, as it was seen as diminishing and deflecting of the severity of such a thought as taking your own life. Because of the backlash he faced, Piers announced that he would be leaving the network, but that he still doesn't believe Meghan's claim, saying, quote, freedom of speech is a hill I am happy to die on, end quote. Because of the backlash he faced this year, Piers might not be famous in 2022. At number 9, Ellen DeGeneres. Last year, Ellen faced a lot of drama, backlash, and cancellations, and it completely tanked her career. It started with allegations of a toxic work environment and snowballed into her facing scrutiny for her comments on the lockdown experience, the Black Lives Matter movement, and even had people digging up old interviews to show how toxic she's been. With all that backlash she's been facing over the last year, her career has taken some serious damage. According to some sources, her show has seen a huge drop in ratings following her cancellation, and a number of advertisers had pulled their support from the show as well. Ellen announced the end of her show at the end of her 19th season. When news broke of her show ending after nearly 2 decades, Ellen said that this was a personal decision to end the show, saying she's looking for a new challenge, but I'm sure that her recent negative attention also played a big part in this decision. Because of this, she might not be very famous next year, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. Before we carry on talking about some of the celebrities who might not be thriving next year, why not take a moment to leave a like on this video if you're enjoying it so far, and while you're at it, why not smash that subscribe button to see more videos like this one. At number 8, J.K. Rowling. Last year, Harry Potter author J.K. Rowling came under serious fire over a number of things, such as allegations of transphobia after she sent out a series of tweets that were seen as highly offensive to the trans community. J.K. spoke out on social media about her opinions and views on trans people, specifically trans women, and because of the comments she made, she faced massive backlash. Her words impacted a lot of people from the trans community, and they also had an effect on her business relationships, as those who have ties with her Harry Potter franchise were brought into this mess. Since her drama last year, the author has continued to lay into this, going along with the hate she's received. She was cancelled last year, but that veil still hasn't been lifted because no one is forgiving her. As a result of this continuing drama, her business has suffered, and her HBO plans remain on the rocks, and her book sales have declined in recent months. JK cancelled herself, but she just keeps digging herself deeper and deeper, and she's losing fame and might lose it all in the coming year. At number 7, Sharon Osbourne. Talk show host Sharon Osbourne found herself in some hot water earlier this year after making some comments about Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. Sharon faced a lot of backlash and crossed a line by making the harsh comments that she did about the royal couple, specifically about Meghan. This all went down on The View as Sharon Osbourne and Cheryl Underwood got into a heated argument surrounding Piers Morgan's remarks about Meghan Markle. During this feud, Sharon backed up Piers's comments about Meghan Markle's mental health and about the fact that she didn't believe what Meghan said about her mental health, and this frustrated Cheryl because she didn't like the comments that were being made about those involved. This very heated debate then got even bigger as this prompted an internal investigation after it was alleged that Sharon had been making disrespectful comments about her fellow hosts as well. This really blew up in her face as she lost her career and reputation and was promptly cancelled online. Because of this, we might not hear much from Sharon in 2022. At number 6, Dr. Phil. Dr. Phil was exposed and cancelled earlier this year following rapper Bad Baby's YouTube video where she spoke out about the treatment she experienced from a youth reform camp that she was sent to after her time on Dr. Phil's show. The rapper, whose real name is Danielle Bergoli, posted a video to her YouTube channel courageously opening up about what she experienced, detailing how staff at the camp called Turnabout Ranch treated her and other kids. In the video, she shared some of the horrors she faced, like how she was taken from her home in the middle of the night, handcuffed, and wasn't allowed to sleep or shower for 3 days. She also said that staff used restraints on people and that some people claimed to have been assaulted while there. Danielle exposed Dr. Phil because he was the one who recommended this camp and has been doing so for such a long time. People were furious with Dr. Phil because he condoned such a horrific place, and he was cancelled for it. When the public found out about Dr. Phil, he lost a lot of credibility, and since then, more people have come forward to speak out about their experiences with the TV personality. This may only be the beginning, but if we know anything about cancel culture, it's that no one is safe and they could easily lose it all. At number 5, James Charles. Beauty YouTuber James Charles is no stranger to getting cancelled for having been caught having inappropriate relationships with a few of his fans under the age of 18. James has faced backlash for this sort of thing many times in the past, but yet he still gets caught. This year, James was hit with backlash after it was discovered that he had solicited private photos from a fan who turned out to be under 18. James was exposed by said fan on social media, where he showed off their messages and photos sent to each other over the period of time that they had been talking. This happened late in February, but a similar event happened just a few weeks prior to this incident after a young man came forward exposing James and recounting how he and James had been having explicit conversations on Snapchat. The fact that James keeps crossing this line and keeps getting caught says a lot about him, and people are starting to catch on to this as a result. James not only lost his collaboration with Morphe, but he also lost out on a web series hosting job, and his channel was demonetized by YouTube. He's losing more and more fans as he gets caught in these scandals, so perhaps 2022 might be the year when he loses it all. At number 4, David Dobrik. For a lot of aspiring YouTube creators, David Dobrik was one person that a lot of people looked up to. He had a lot of success on the platform, but after his massive scandal earlier this year, a lot of people stopped supporting the YouTuber after learning of the allegations against him. David lost a lot of followers and faced a lot of backlash from the public after people started coming forward with allegations of bullying against David, as well as his Vlog Squad friends. Former members of David's YouTube friend group also came forward calling David out for bullying and creating a toxic environment, as well as orchestrating pranks that resulted in one friend experiencing trauma, and on top of that, a former fan came forward naming a Vlog Squad member as a person who was inappropriate with them while they were under the influence, and also exposed David for filming part of the alleged incident. Though he seems to be doing okay now that this scandal has blown over, we all know how unpredictable YouTube and the internet can be, and it just takes one more cancellation to really end someone. So in 2022, we might have to watch out for that. At number 3, Chris Noth. In one of the more recent Hollywood scandals to come out this year, Sex and the City actor Chris Noth has been faced with allegations of inappropriate contact, and he's starting to lose a lot. This scandal is still developing because it's so recent, but so far other former Sex and the City co-stars have come forward to support the alleged victims. As for his career, he's been fired from his role on the CBS show The Equalizer effective immediately. As he goes into the new year with the scandal and the fact that he's been fired, chances are he probably won't be all that famous in 2022. At number 2, Meghan Markle. As I mentioned earlier, Meghan Markle and Prince Harry made headlines this year after their interview with Oprah back in January. People became super obsessed with the couple, both in positive and negative ways. Since then, they've been in and out of the news, and a lot of people have wondered if Meghan will make her return to acting after leaving the royal family. So far, she's done a little bit of work in Hollywood, having narrated a documentary about elephants that's on Disney+, but people are wondering if we will see more from Meghan in the new year. Well, the answer is maybe, maybe not. Things are still a little shaky with the actress because of all the drama surrounding her and everything with the royal family, and she and Harry are also focused on raising their young family, so perhaps Meghan will continue to lay low for a little while longer. She might not be very famous in 2022, but maybe in the future we will see her return to Hollywood. And finally, at number 1, Amber Heard. Amber Heard seems to be laying pretty low these days following all of that drama with Johnny Depp last year, but that doesn't mean people have forgotten why they hate her. Amber and Johnny were the biggest story of last year, and after learning so much about the horrible things that Amber did, she's lost a lot of fans, and people have hated her ever since. We learned that she had gotten into a fight with her sister, she's been recorded confessing to hitting Johnny Depp, she's pretended to be the victim of a violent crime, she smuggled her dogs to Australia, pretended to not have known about the laws there, and tried to get her assistant to commit perjury, she's responsible for Johnny's severed finger, and she supposedly planted stories in the media to deliberately shift the focus from Johnny to her. Because of all these things that have come out about the actress, there are so many people from around the world who really just hate her, and there have even been petitions to have her removed from certain movies, and she's lost a lot of respect from fans and some Hollywood people as well. So because of her bad reputation and the fact that she hasn't really been able to come back from all that drama last year, she might not be too favorable in 2022. Starting us off at number 10, Kanye West. Kanye is on this list because of the shenanigans he's gotten into this year. Between his presidential campaign, his Twitter sprees, and now his most recent stunt with tweeting out his music contracts and peeing on his Grammy, Kanye is something else. But I think that next year, Kanye's reign of fame will come to an end because of his recent contract stunt. What he's done by releasing the images of all his contracts is incredibly illegal. He's breaking every NDA in the books, he's violating everything in those contracts, and it's getting messy. I'm guessing that this is gonna end up being a huge legal battle, and I think Kanye knows this is what's going to happen too, because he even tweeted out a piece of merch that said "Kim is my lawyer," basically showing that he's ready for this fight. And although I applaud him for going after the rights to his music, this may have just cost him his whole career. The rights to his masters are going to cost a lot of money, and so he's going to have a lot of money put aside for this. However, Kanye is also going in for the fight of his life, trying to get these rights as well as fighting his breach of contract following his release of the images of his contracts. He's not gonna have much money after this, and the legal fees, because although he says that Kim is his lawyer, she's not really a lawyer yet. I'm guessing after the legal fees and whatnot, he's not gonna have the money to buy back his music and will have to sign another label to make more music. But after this stunt, I don't think anyone's going to want to risk taking a chance on Kanye, and therefore he will lose his career and subsequently his fame. At number 9, Shane Dawson. Okay, now Now moving on to YouTuber Shane Dawson. Shane has been on the receiving end of a lot of backlash in the past and also this year. His career has been pretty rocky for years because of a number of scandals, but following the backlash of this year specifically, I think this might be the end of Shane's fame. Shane has 21 million subscribers and he saw a big jump in popularity in recent years with his focus on more lengthy and highly produced documentary series, but this year, most of the hard work came undone. He was cancelled a lot this year and had to issue some apologies along the way, but I think that this might be the end of an era. Following the rise in popularity of the Black Lives Matter movement and Shane's cancellation for his racist past, there's been an apparent shift in society and people have become more vigilant of discrimination amongst other things. So were Shane to come back onto the platform and try to make his videos again, I don't think he'll be met with the same praise as before since he's lost quite a bit of support. He may very well pull a Jenna Marbles and leave the platform and subsequently fade from the internet. In at 8, Ellen DeGeneres. This one is kind of obvious, but we're gonna talk about her anyway. You've no doubt heard of Ellen's tumultuous year and the long list of allegations against her. Now, although her show hasn't been cancelled and no real action has been taken against Ellen, that doesn't necessarily mean she's off the hook. Throughout this whole year, we've seen people come out of the woodworks to talk about Ellen and bring about more controversies, and really they've just painted a pretty bad picture of her. So going into next year, she's probably not gonna be carrying much fame with her. She now has a reputation of being mean and whatnot, so I doubt that people will really want to work with her after this. Things for her have been slowly falling apart this year, so next year I do believe that we will see the end of the Ellen Show and its host.
And at number 7, Frankie J. Grande. I kind of feel bad for Frankie because after all, he's living in the gigantic shadow of his younger sister, Ariana Grande. But it seems that being Ariana's brother has kind of become like his shtick to get into the limelight. But unlike his sister, Frankie hasn't really had much success with his ventures. And because of this, he takes practically any opportunity that's handed to him. And he's been on reality TV probably more than anyone in history. He's also well known for being one of the most hated people from Big Brother, using his relation to Ariana to stay in the house. And it's a tough spot. Like, I get he can't just do a normal job because that could put him in danger and really just not be a good look for the family in some ways. But he doesn't have much going for him other than, that familial connection. So I'm hoping he gets picked up for something good soon.
In at 6, Tyra Banks. Supermodel Tyra Banks has come under fire this year for her show America's Next Top Model. Fans came back to rip her apart for perpetuating toxicity, sexism, racism, and unhealthy body image in the early years of the show. Though Tyra has turned around advocating for inclusivity and acceptance in the modeling industry in recent years, it's her past actions that people are focusing on. Tyra used to be one of the biggest and most famous models in the world, but over the years her fame has begun to fade into obscurity, and with the recent backlash of ANTM, that's really just digging her career deeper and deeper into the ground. Before the pandemic hit, Tyra was set to launch a model-esque theme park where you could be a supermodel for the day. Think Wanna-Do City, but fashion. But so far there's been no launch. In recent years, Tyra has also tried launching a beauty line, but that failed. And her model land thing just isn't really picking up either. Now she's a host on Dancing with the Stars, and that shows kind of where careers go to die. No offense to Tyra, like she was my queen growing up, but I don't think that her fame will be hanging on for very much longer after this year.
Halfway at number 5, Jason Derulo. Jason Derulo is interesting because he comes into mainstream attention every few years, but fades just as fast. Jason was one of the biggest stars of the 2000s, and I'm sure you all know his signature opening line, Jason Derulo. Sorry, you know I had to. But after his rise, he slowly started to fade, and I'm sure none of you have even thought about Jason Derulo since. However, he recently came back into mainstream attention with his focus on TikTok. He was really the first mainstream celebrity to adopt TikTok and use it to become relevant again. And it actually worked. His newest single, Savage Love, landed Derulo his first top 10 hit on the Billboard Hot 100 since 2015. And Jason knows what he's doing. He said in one interview, quote, "It's important to reinvent yourself as much as possible. Otherwise people just get tired of it. I've tried everything under the sun at least 3 times. And although I respect his hustle on TikTok, it seems like he's fighting for relevancy with teenage TikTok stars.
In at 4, Lea Michele. Lea is another one of those stars who's been called out for their past unpleasant behavior. Earlier this year, fellow Glee castmate Samantha Marie Ware called Lea Michele out for making her time on the show a living hell. Samantha accused Lea of bullying and just being an all-around unpleasant person to work with. With her microaggressions and bad attitude, Lea was also faced with scrutiny from other people that she worked with like Keith Powell, Heather Morris, Harris and Gerard Canonico. Now following their expose of Leah, the actress is now being seen negatively by the entertainment industry. I think that as a result we're going to see a similar, if not same, pattern as Ellen, where people don't really want to work with her and ultimately will fade from the spotlight.
In at number 3, Angus T. Jones. Angus T. Jones was a child star that grew into adulthood while he was shooting the hit show 2.5 Men. But when he started to get older, he started to get major angst for showbiz and turned against his career. He even went so far to tell people to not watch his show or TV in general, which, you know, isn't a smart thing for an actor to do. Jones ended up quitting the hit show in 2013 to attend college, but only a few days later he wanted back in on the action once he was asked to make a cameo in the 2.5 Men finale. He worked at an events company for some time, then got cast in a web show, and his horizons really don't look so great now.
Coming in at number 2, Amber Heard. Oh boy, Amber Heard is right up there with Ellen as public enemies of 2020. Amber is now getting tons of backlash after people learn the truth about her relationship with Johnny Depp. As their defamation trial continues to unfold, more and more people are hating Amber for her treatment of her ex-husband. Following the backlash, her career has taken a hit. There's been a petition going around to remove her from the Aquaman sequel, and she's apparently been forced to star in indie films instead of big Hollywood productions because her fame and reputation have taken such a big hit. This new downfall is certainly going to continue as the trial isn't over yet, and I'm sure there's still a lot more to uncover about the actress. But just seeing her career be hit so hard already kind of shows that she may very well lose her fame in the coming years. When she pegged the abuse on Johnny, his reputation fell apart, and now that this dynamic is being shifted onto Amber, we're seeing the same thing happen again. The only difference here is that Johnny was able to clear his name, and Amber might not be able to clear hers. Finally coming in at number 1, Carole Baskin. Carole Baskin became an overnight sensation following the release of the Tiger King documentary in March. Unlike Joe Exotic, she's been able to hold on to her fame just a little bit longer than he has, but I'm still predicting that she will lose her fame in the coming year. Yeah, sure, she's on Dancing with the Stars and that's just fueling her fame for now, but what's gonna happen when the show's over? So far her fame has been coming in waves. First it was the rise of the documentary, then things died down with its hype, then she came back up again when she was announced to be on Dancing with the Stars, but when she leaves she's just gonna fade back into obscurity. And now that this year is coming to a close, thank God, there's really nothing else left to keep her fame afloat. I think she's just gonna end up going back to being an animal activist and live out her days covering up the murder of her husband, who we all know was fed to the tigers.